Hello there and welcome to Hamid Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Jedel Kabir. It's a conversation about Gen Z protests. Who better to have this conversation with but a Gen Z? What does she think about the conversation that is happening in the country? Did she protest? And does she think the president made the right decision to reject the finance bill of 2024, withdrew it? Esther Nyonje, she's a political analyst, she's a journalist, she does a lot for this country. How are you doing this particular morning?
Niko Freshi Barida.
Freshi Barida.
You can see it.
What do you think about this conversation about protests? You know, it's crazy what is happening. Everyone is saying there is no leader. So who will the president negotiate with? But from the onset, what do you think about generally the reject finance bill protests?
It came in too late for the president to reject. Why did we have to go all the way? Circles, corners, where? And then finally he rejects it. Who is the president listening to? You saw the MPs. While the president told them to accept the bill, they clapped. The president told them, I'm not signing the bill. They also clap. Who are they listening to? The people said from the onset that we do not want this bill. So it proves that the president and the government, and we also ask, who is the government? Because the government has not been listening to the people. That's it. Well, and that's why we had to go to the streets. Because if you remember with last year's finance bill, I followed it closely also. The housing levy was passed. But did you hear the uproar of the parliamentarians? Kina Sifuna. Sifuna, Chindo Molo, all of them, they cried and cried. Sifuna was frustrated and he said, in fact, I will never come to talk to you people again, because when we do these protests, you say that it's Azimio, it's branded Azimio against the government. But we are fighting for the Kenyan people. And now I'm happy that this time, it did not come from Azimio. It's tribeless, it's faceless, it's leaderless. It came from the people, because the people are now finally feeling that effect of it.
The president says we are going to talk with the youth, we're going to talk with the Generation Z. Will there be a conversation? Do you think the president will have someone to talk to?
Who? And how many of those conversations have we had in the past, Jadil? We have the NCO Report. Iko wapi? Where did it go? The NCO Report, do you even know the progress of it? So this report is, I'm looking at it as a way of silencing us. And you know, we've had these things in the past, talking and talking. How many frameworks does Kenya have? We are in line with almost all the frameworks, the UN, what? Our administrative work on paper is very good. Until this time, we haven't implemented all the articles of the Constitution. Because if we had implemented the articles of the Constitution, we wouldn't be in this position.
The president says there will be budget cuts. He has withdrawn the finance bill. Do you think government will function without the finance bill of 2024? Because for him, he says most of the things he had planned for the finance year of 2024-2025 will not be implemented. Is he right to make these budget cuts now?
He should have done that a long time ago. Why does it have to come right now? We cried. We told President Ruto, why do you keep on traveling? He said, I'm going to look for more deals to improve the economic situation of Kenya. You know, we are not seeing it, because at this time we need to see and we need to feel the impact of those travels. Not you traveling and then we come back and see, oh, you're working with designer shoes. Oh, you're going to Harambes every time, dishing out money. You know, that was money. Did you see Oscar Sudi giving out that money in the church?
20 million.
And then you go and build a church. Church itatusaidia aje. So priorities are misplaced.
What is the psychology of a Gen Z right now with regards to the politics that is happening in the country? The
psychology of a Gen Z is that we are frustrated. You know, when we go to the streets, we are worried for ourselves. And I really feel that the previous generation was in this position, but they were used to being silenced. They were used to whatever you're told, shh, no, don't. And then you look at these leaders and they are at a step higher than you. So you can't even approach them. But Gen Zs were born at a time of enlightenment, digital knowledge. And Generation Alpha, they're born right now, and the next thing they have is a gadget.
This Generation Alpha now.
You know? Yeah. The next thing they have is a gadget. My niece watches information from Russia. She watches a show inaitwa Nastia. So the Nastia show shows them things in Russia, how they do things. You see, that's Generation Alpha. Now what about us? We were born and slowly morphed into that digital knowledge. So we are aware, we're enlightened. So we know, we've read the Constitution. So we ask ourselves, even if we are given jobs, we do the jobs according to what we've been told because we're educated. So we've read the Constitution. So mbona haifuatwi? And we think that ikifuatwa, things would be better. And then the political culture has bad manners. We are a people that at school, we were taught about patriotism. We were taught about integrity. We were taught about ethics, values. Those things were taught in us on paper. The previous generation failed to implement them. But we are saying that we want to implement those things because paperwork in Kenya is good, but we lack the values. You saw the BBI report. It introduced ethos and ethics and patriotism, those things. Yes, it was squashed, but that could be a starting point because we need to pass out the political bad manners that could be passed on to us, and we're the ones to make that change.
Oh. For Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, the president was misinformed about the gravity, the situation on the ground, about the rage that the Gen Z has by the National Intelligence Service that is under Nordin Haji. Is this the situation? Do you believe it from the DP that the president was unaware about people's Generation Z's reaction?
How was he unaware? How was he unaware? You have seen the tone in which David D has been addressing Kenyans on X. You have seen yourself. Very rude, very arrogant. Na hii vita haijaanza leo. If the APRO has just started, ilikuwa imefika hapa. So ime-explode. Maziwa ikiboil, iboil na iboil. Shh. You know, so ilikuwa imefika hapa. So you can say the president was unaware. And his advisors are also on the wrong. Because you have seen how David Ndii is speaking to people. Mutahi Nguni has a following on Twitter. People listen to him. But you have seen how he has been speaking to people. Arrogance. So it means there's a detachment. There's now the political class, and now there's this us. Because we've been telling these people from the start, we didn't want housing levy from last year, walipitisha. We didn't want these projects, bado wanapitisha. We don't want this. We don't want you to travel. We want austerity measures, bado wanapitisha. So there's a detachment. There's now a new class. There's that class, the government, and now there's the people. And now that government is listening to someone else.
What do you think about Gen Z attacking influencers like I think it's Hanifa, there is Boniface Mwangi who's an activist, Cairo. There's Khalif Cairo, those that told people not to occupy State House after they occupied Parliament. Was it an anticlimax for you, what we saw yesterday? Well,
we went to the streets to protest about reject the finance bill. Well, we want to say that it's not just about the finance bill, but I think one step was achieved that day because everyone had the notion that Ruto will never back down. You know, I was being told that, you know, Ruto is like Moi. He will never listen to you people. You people, this war viewers, kama ajaisikia wale watu wengine, how will he listen to you? So everyone had that notion that, Ruto, si atapitisha tu. But when he backed down, I celebrated, but I said, I won't thank you, Mr. President, because you should have listened. This is democracy, you know? But now I say that we will not thank you. You should have done this a long time ago. Now, when he did that, that was one step. You know, democracy is progressive. It doesn't happen in a day. It's not an event. It's a process. So what he did that day was very commendable. Rule of law, number one. So after he rejected, the finance bill is now dead. Dead. In fact, I saw Kimani Ichung'wah coming down now to say it's not even 6 feet under, it's 10 feet under. And I'm like, yo, you hadn't been listening to us. It had to get here. But now the finance bill is dead. And now that's a step towards democracy. In the future, we are going to have, you know, I say we are setting fast times for everything. A president being told by the people to reject the finance bill and he accepts, that's a step towards democracy. So we are moving forward. Now, and I think the president also did that because he had underrated this situation. But now I may realize where Nikubaya. Now, when these people stepped down, it was good because he came down. So we also have to calm down. Yeah. And then now recollect, reflect. In fact, I'm telling my viewers, reflect, because things have changed. Ilikuwa reject finance bill, I may reject. So let's also not be so aggressive and
because we still have a country.
We still have a country. Take time, reflect, and now know, okay, fine, the finance bill, but we still have other issues. Now let's now address them progressively, slowly. But if we have to go to the streets, we will go, but we have to have an agenda, and we have to know the accountability after being on the streets.
What does the future hold for Gen Z? What does the future hold for government when we see this woke nation of ours now with everything, every information being relayed on social media platforms?
It's amazing. It's amazing, Jad. I love it.
The future will be crazy.
It would be crazy. I don't think it will be crazy. It won't be crazy, but the future will be luminous.
Esther Nyonje, for you, she has a YouTube channel, Esther Nyonje. You can go ahead and subscribe to it. She talks about politics and governance. Would you mind being the leader of Gen Z?
I'm not ready. and you know what? Let me say one thing. Let me say one thing. You know, they say leadership is something we need to get to. Where I say the future will be luminous, I see a future where before people get to leadership positions, you ask yourself a million times, am I ready? You know, the past, it's just that, nataka kiti. I want a V8, I want mortgage, I want, but because people are never accountable, but with this trend, itafika place to najiuliza, do I really want this seat? Because you've seen leaders in South Korea kill themselves because of one corruption scandal. Someone commits suicide because they got themselves in a corruption, because they can't handle the public wrath, or they can't handle the government wrath, or their democracy wrath. Now we need to get to that place. So let's ask ourselves, am I ready for that position? So for me, maybe
contemplate, because you'll get a lot of backlash if you come out as a leader. But final message to Gen Z, what we've seen this week, last week.
Gen Z's, viva, do not relent. This is the start. The colonizers, this is how the colonizers were put out of our country. But the problem is that the system was rotten. So we are the ones to change that system.
As we say, Godha tena.
Godha tena.
Thank you for tuning into this conversation with Esther Nyonje, Gen Z. Have yourself a lovely rest of your day.